Hey, what's going on? This is Khaliq Glover, also known as Khaliq-O-Vision, and this is going to be a quick little run through with some insights for Martin Weeks. I had a few people send me some stuff to use as different case studies for, if you were having problems or whatever. I said, send me your stuff and let me see, and I'll give you some feedback on what I think about it and what might help you elevate it and take it to the next level. So I have a few quick insights from Martin on his song here. He sent it to me. It's called Sorting Through the Mist. And it says session for Khaliq Glover. So Martin, it's Glover. But that doesn't matter. Just say Khaliq. Good enough. Okay, so anyway, the session came in here, and I just now opened it up and everything. So the first thing when I get stuff in, and this isn't, I wanted to give this as an overview of like I've got a three-stage process when I go to approach mixing, basically. And the first part of that process is structure. And this is when you get stuff in from external sources or whatever. The first thing that I concentrate on is seeing how it was structured and how I need to structure it to be able to maybe mix it myself, or if I'm coaching and mentoring somebody, I want to see what can help them get a more efficient workflow. So one of the first things when I do, I look at something like this, and let me just switch over to here. So this is Martin's session here, how it came in. I just opened it up. I haven't done anything to it yet. So first thing I look at, there's not a lot of tracks in here, so he's got basically 6 tracks here, starting here and ending over here. I see 6 audio tracks, okay? And then we've got the effects, the reverb. So he looks like he's got one reverb, and then we've got buses, drum bus, bass bus, rhythm, electric guitar bus, piano, lead guitar, and it says P bus compression, so I guess that's parallel compression there. Okay, so pretty simple song, straight ahead and everything. Now let's take a look at this and see what's going on. Because there's not too many instruments and everything, Martin, you have a chance to take this and really get a lot of power out of it. Now Martin sent me some documentation of some of the things that he got on here. So basically, the drums, they're not individual drums. It's a stereo mix down of the drums. So we'll dig into that and see how we could possibly improve it and kick it up. Now this is not going to be long. This is not meant to be an in-depth tutorial. What I'm going to do is give you some insights and some of my things, and then Martin, you can go back in and just act on some of these things. And anybody that's watching this, you can go ahead and utilize maybe some of the concepts to what you're doing. So with that being said, one of the first things I do when I dig into something like this, okay, the first thing I do, which is part of my structure phase, is I open the session, and then right away before I even listen, the first thing I do is start looking to see, well, what do I have? So like I said, here we've got just a few tracks. Okay, so nice and simple and everything. Go up here and look at the tracks up here, and pretty straight ahead. But here's one thing I noticed. Now look, these waveforms, how they look when I opened it up. Looks pretty low, Now I don't know if they were recorded that low, but probably a little bit low. But I like seeing seeing the waveforms a little bit better and everything to just tell where everything's going on. So that's telling me that potentially the recordings may be a little bit low, and on the front end when structuring things and getting things together, that might be something I might want to do. I might want to find a way to boost them up, so that I don't have to artificially boost them up so much, So anyway, looking at that. So one of the other things I would do right away is I want to see what's on these tracks here, and let me do this too, because like I said, these waveforms are a little low, so I want to be able to see them a little bit more. So I'm gonna come over here in Studio One. You can do just like you do in Pro Tools and make the waveforms appear a little bigger, even though this is not necessarily the recorded level. I can make them look a little bit bigger. So this way I can see, get a little bit better idea of what's going on, rather than dragging the individual tracks themselves. I want the waveforms themselves to be bigger. So anyway, I see that, and kind of see what's going on. I see on this one, this track is something that I'm looking at the piano, and this is, I'm assuming, is a stereo track. But look at the right side versus the left side. Whole lot of signal over here, and this is very little, just some little bump noise or whatever. So that may be a problem that has to be addressed and fixed, you know. Then I'm looking over here, this rhythm guitar part. Let's zoom that out and see what's going on. Go back the other way here. Okay, so this rhythm guitar part, it's kind of just exactly the opposite of what the piano. The piano's got, it looks like it's got most of the signal on the left part of this piano track here. Okay, and this part down here may be part of it. Maybe it was panned that way. Maybe it was done on purpose. Maybe it's a mistake. I don't know, but I'll have to listen. I'm seeing red flags there that may have to be addressed. Same thing with the guitar. Most of the guitar signal is down here on the right. And then on that left channel, if these are supposed to be true stereo, I'm seeing an imbalance. It might be on purpose. Maybe it was recorded meant to have a leaning a little bit more to left or right, but I need to investigate it, you know. And so then we got rhythm guitar track 2 looks fine. You know, it's a mono track. You know, the other mono tracks look fine, but like I said, I had to bump up how the waveform actually looked, and you know how tall it is. So if I pull it down all the way, you see it may have been recorded a little bit low. So we may have to compensate just so that we don't make other processes that we use later on make them have to work too much and boost up a lot of noise along with trying to get the signal boosted and things like that. You know, I don't know. I'm just, you know, like I said, just speculating now, just from looking and seeing, well, hey, what do I have here actually? You know, ideally, basically, I want these. Well, that's a little much there, but basically, I would want these waveforms to, you know, to come in here naturally somewhere looking something kind of like about that maybe, you know. Then I would think that I've got enough recorded signal in there. So now the next thing I do, let me go ahead and just hit play. And oh, before I do that, I want to see what does he have on here. So okay, so let me do this and pop this up. So we can see what kind of inserts he has on here. Now this session came on and he has a couple right here plugins that I don't have, you know, but that shouldn't make a huge difference in the sound. It might make a little bit of difference. This is the drum bus and the bass bus. So there's two plugins on that are on here right now. But that's no big deal because I'm gonna explain to you why. And then over here on the stereo, but when I go over to the mix bus, there's two plugins missing from there. But what I would do, obviously, other than I'm gonna go back. He gave me a stereo rough mix that he had. But what I would do is level match that with this and see what the difference is. So I would turn off this stereo bus processing. He's got a limiter here, and he's got a level meter here, and that seems to be all. Okay, so one of the first things that I'm going to do before I do anything, and actually I did it on, I'm gonna open up another instance of the session, is I put on a way where I can A/B the rough mix that he had compared to what's coming out of here. But right now, before we switch over, let me just take a look and see. I said we see we got a few things on. This is the drum tracks here, you know. So in structuring, I would, you know, definitely deal with my naming so that they're clear and I could get to things quickly, you know. We got some stuff on here and I would see why they're on, you know. I'm seeing here's a send to the parallel compression bus, so I guess that's the drums are being sent over to here and all of the drums, so we'll check that out. We see that we've got reverb, but we only got one reverb and it's pretty much on everything, so I'm looking at that to see if that's going to be a problem or not. With everything going to one reverb, it might be a problem. And then looking at you know, we got this thing, the Noveltech, that's the Noveltech or Noveltech, whatever it is, character. And then the Pro EQ. It's the only thing he's got on the drums. Ampere here, and the, looks like the character again, yeah. And then compressor on, what is this, the piano, okay, compressor, Ampere again, on the rhythm guitar. Let me see this. Let me see what else he's got here. Yeah, he's got some other stuff. So, okay, BX sub filter on the drums. Okay, and what is this? The Alicia no Nivu filter, I guess it is how you say, and a compressor. So there's a lot of stuff on this drum track. We got to check and see and be sure that it's really helping and getting the most and everything. That's what I would do. Then the bass and everything, and he's got one of my favorite things that PreSonus gives you is a red light district plug-in here. So I've shown you guys how that can help a bass or other instruments as well do their thing. So I'm glad he has that on there. Let's collapse that for a second. Okay, and we see here's what's on the guitars. Ampere and everything, compressors, distortion, things like that. Now here's something else. I'm looking. He's got the BX sub filter on this guitar. And that's something that I might question. Raises in my mind a question. Why is that on a guitar? It's a sub filter, adding low subs into a guitar. So I have to ask myself why. Binaural pan on here, so that may be a cool effect that he's using to spread it out. I don't know, but I'm just making notes of what do I see here, And okay, so I kind of got an idea. Now I'm doing this in the order of just kind of showing you this stuff, but what I may have done before this was just simply hit play and listen, which is what we're going to do now. Let's just hit play and listen to this. So right now, I'm sure this does not sound like probably the rough mix that he sent me for a couple of reasons. First of all, that this plugin is missing on the drum, so that probably helped a little bit of the sound. These two plugins are missing on the drum bus and the bass bus. Okay, so I'm just taking that into consideration, that, okay, what would I want to hear, and let me go over here, and if I bypass the inserts, I want to see if there's a big difference. Well, of course, these plugins are missing, so I can just leave that bypassed anyway, because we're not using anything. Now let's take off the limiter and see. So you see the limiter was boosting up everything. Put that, bringing up the guitars, the cymbals and all that. But there's a couple interesting things that I'm hearing that are happening with the drums when the limiter's on. Let me turn it off. Now I want you to take a listen, Martin. Listen to your drums right now without the limiter on there. Now I'll put the limiter in. You hear how it smoothed out the kick drum, that boom, 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 boom. It had a little more punch without the limiter, So it doesn't mean you can't use the limiter, but you got to listen for things like that and maybe change your settings so that it keeps that, as opposed to it's kind of smoothing it over. And it doesn't sound like you're hitting the limiter hard. So let me play this and take a look at the limiter real quick. Yeah, you're not even hitting it hard. You've got this peaking it out at a ceiling of 1 dB, Got the input increased into it a little bit. You're not even really hitting it on the threshold, so we don't see gain reduction happening here, but we can tell a difference just running through it, right? Let me put it back in. So while it seems to sound better, what the limiter is doing is making it a little bit louder and all that, but we have to be also careful listening to the other stuff, so that's what I wanted to point out to you. You might want to go and check that out and be sure that it's not killing your groove and smoothing it over and everything, which is happening a little bit. There's some good stuff coming in, but there's some other stuff there's always a trade-off, and you got to look and see, well, what's the consequences of what I just did. Okay, so anyway, with that being said, I wanted to dig in, and let me go over to the other thing now, and let me go over to the other version. I opened up the other version of the song, and I haven't done anything. All I did was open up the same song. Let me boost the waveforms back up a little bit so I can see them. And this is the same song. Haven't done anything to it. So what I want to show you as far as my thought process of what I'm hearing here, a couple of things, and we'll deal with maybe 2 or 3 things that you can get some inside out of it, and then go back and play around and see if it helps you. Okay, so one of the first things that I did was I just put on my AB plugin so that I could put on his rough mix. Okay, so here's the main one here. I level matched them so that they're the same level. Now move up here. This is the rough mix that he sent. So you see it sounds pretty close since I level matched them. Now I'm gonna go back to the original right now. Now I'm back on the original. So you can hear the biggest difference is the original versus the one with the more compression and all the stuff. His rough mix obviously has these plugins that I'm missing, but it's not that big of a difference, right? That's his. And here's the one with this session here with the stuff missing. So it's not a huge difference. I got it level matched pretty good. Now let's look and see what's going on here, and I'm gonna make a couple of changes. So one of the first things I do if I go back to the song, I want to know, okay, well, what's really here? We've got all this stuff, but normally I would just take everything off. I'm seeing all these plugins over here. All these plugins are happening, and I would normally just take all this stuff off because I want to know what's really actually there in the song. Okay, so let me do this real quick. Oh wait, let's close that out. And I think if I do this and go up here and hit this, yeah, good. I can bypass all of those plugins that are on the audio tracks. And I've got this parallel compression here, which has the compressor on, but yeah, I'm gonna take that one off too. So that's pretty much everything gone, you know, because we don't have these here on the drum bus or whatever, so it's pretty much empty. But just for giggle's sake, let me take it off of there just so that, you know, this is what I would normally do. Now I'll leave the reverb on because I just want to hear what's going on with the reverb. But let me just play the track with nothing in it. This is the way he got it or recorded it or whatever. So the level's nice and low of everything. And this is where I was talking about, you know, when I look at what I got on the waveforms coming in the recorded track, as we can see, the levels are recorded pretty low. So, you know, they ideally should have been a little closer up in here for some of the stuff, you know. So it's pretty low. So what's happening is all of these things that are getting put on here are basically being used as a gain knob as well as the processing, which, you know, if you have to end up doing that, that's fine. But there, you know, the better way is to optimize this gain by re-recording these signals. You know, sometimes you can re-record them coming back in, process it, and get it back in. You know, gain it up, whatever you have to do to get the main signal without anything on there. So that way that they are more efficient when it's going through some of these processors here, so that it's more efficient and optimized as it's gain stage through some of this stuff, and then you don't have to kick up the different plugins to take up the gain slack where it should be. You should be getting it from the source signal. Okay, so that'll probably help you. Now listening. Okay, if I just let me just boost this stereo up here. See, so this vibe here with nothing on it is a whole different thing, but it's nice. There's a nice little thing going on there. So, you know, even though the volume's low, I can get an idea. There's a nice smooth groove. It's got a, you know, good feel to it and everything. So take that back down. So let me put this drum processing all back in here. Drums, let's put this bass in. And then I'm noticing what's happening. What am I here? What do I hear happening? So low end is clouding up a bit. Can you hear that? And the punch definitely smooths out. Okay. Let's go back and put this stuff back on. So he's adding a lot of low end stuff in there. So he's got that sub filter on there, the distortion. Can you hear some, there's some rattling kind of going on, a rattling sound. Can you hear that chattering sound? I don't know what that is. Let me push this up a little bit. Hear that chattering right there on the drums? It's chattering for some reason. Let me put the other stuff, the guitars back in. Okay, remember the guitar I was saying was leaning to one side, so we see that here. So maybe that's on purpose in the recording. Let's look. That's what it sounds like it might. Let's put this right. So just with this in the center, the guitar is still leaning a little bit to the right, and he had it a little bit over this way, a little bit more. So the stuff that was on the other channel is not. It's not. I don't think we're truly getting the full benefit of the stereo sound, but that might be exactly what he wants. I would think that sound can be widened out a bit. So experiment with that, man. Maybe see if you can make it a wider sound, since this is a stereo guitar part, you know. Now, what about this other guitar? It's a nice sound, by the way. I like it. See, and then let's take it here. There's some chattering going on in that drums. You hear all that, especially when it hits the cymbals and stuff like that. So there's some kind of processing causing a problem. Let me take this off for a second. Just boost the drums. Let me see what happens when I put just the EQ, just the compressor on. That's just the compressor. Let me put just the EQ. See what he has going on the EQ. Okay, so we could work on this EQ to get a little bit more out of that. We need a little more punch and all that stuff. We hear the stuff is in there, you know, and we're getting some other stuff in here. I think we need to be careful of that hi-hat becoming obnoxious. Okay, here's what I want to hear is, let's hear what this Noveltech thing is doing, okay? That's off. Let me put it on. And right now, put it on. You hear that? What's happening? Let me solo that. Okay. So that's adding that chattering sound that we're hearing. Okay, so you got to be careful with stuff like this. We got a natural drum sound here, and since you want to. I understand what you were going for, Martin, to try and enhance that sound, and that's not bad. But I think you can hear that the chatter, and that's what can give you problems. Especially this might be being pushed too much. Let me see if I pull it back a little bit, if that helps. Still chattering a bit. Let's take it out. Okay, so it does some nice stuff to the sound, but at what cost? There's probably another better way that you can get to that same type of characteristic I'm thinking, and so maybe investigate some of the other things in there that can get you a slightly different thing. I see what you were going for, but you can hear that the chatter is totally, and the thing is that it's not bad, but it would subliminally mess with people listening to it because they just kind of hear it and won't know what is happening. That's what got me. I was listening and I was like, wait, what is that? Something's going on. And I couldn't figure out what it was or where it was coming from until we break it down. But you can definitely feel that something is a little bit off. So be careful of something like that. I would substitute this for something else. Okay. But this is the big part of, like I said, the big part, and I'm not going to go on too long, going through everything like this to find out that you've got the right structure of things from the very beginning. I start and make sure that I put everybody together. Now, different people work differently too. I found that I like to, there's a lot of people that like to have all their buses down at one end, like over here, all the buses are together and everything. I like to have the buses that I'm going to use right next to the instrument I'm going to use it on. So if I had a bunch of drums here and I needed to submix them, I'd have the drums and all the parts here, and then I'd have the drum bus right next to it. I usually actually have it on the left, but left or right is what I do. You find your own workflow, but that works for you. But the reason why I do that, because in a bigger session, if I've got a lot of tracks or whatever, I don't want to have to keep moving the window back and forth or setting up different things where I can only view stuff, and I've got to go through an elaborate thing when I know that if I want to hear my drums and everything that's going with it, I want it all together. If I want to listen to my vocals and I've got the vocal submix on the place and everything and all that, I want it all together so that I don't have to look all over for the particular thing I'm working with. The only thing that I keep at the extremes, and that's just from my days of working on analog consoles, is we used to put all the effects on one end of the mixing console or the other. But these days you don't even have to do that, but I still do it out of habit. And then the VCAs, what I usually do is put the VCAs all together that are going to control the overall volumes of the different subgroups and everybody, so that I can use those to get a final balance. Anyway, let me go back on and I'll just mention a couple other things, and then I'll move on because I don't want to make this too long. I'm gonna go to a couple other people and everything. Makes a couple observations here. So remember I said I was looking at and I saw this BX sub filter on here, so I want to see what that's doing on the drums. Now I think that might be good. It might work on the drums, may not. But my question when I saw it over here on the guitar, so I'm gonna listen to that and see what we got here. So let's put this back here. And then the thing that I do also is I mute some of the other stuff, so I don't need to hear the guitar stuff. Let me mute that. Hear what's happening with the piano. Remember, the piano is leaning to one side. Okay, and then that's going through the reverb. Let me turn off the reverb. See, that chattering is really distracting when you hear that going through this thing here. Let me turn that off for a second. Oh, I'm on the bass and track, sorry. So let me listen to just combinations here. Now, here's the thing too that I would do, because what's also weird to me, a bit weird, is this piano here. You see it's leaning towards the left and you got it panned towards the left. Let me move it back into the center. This is a stereo piano, and let's just see, so it's naturally recorded leaning to the left, but you're kind of pushing it hard left anyway. So really, if you're going to do that much, you could just get rid of one channel and just make this a mono piano and just lean it to one side. But here's the other thing that about this is that pianos, by nature, when you sit down at the piano and you're behind the piano, The low notes are on the left side. You know, when you're watching over a piano player's shoulder and watching him, or when you sit down at the piano, the low notes are on the left side and the high notes are on the right side. You know, now when somebody's listening, it all kind of blends in the room. But traditionally, what we usually like to do is think from the piano player's point of view of what does that sound like when he sits down to the piano. What does it sound like to him? You know, because it's kind of weird to hear a piano and hear the low notes, you know, the low notes coming on the right side and the high notes coming on the left. So with this panned all the way over here, it's kind of subliminally weird to what people are used to hearing. So what I would do on this, and to be honest, I'm not even sure how you do it on here. On Pro Tools, there's a way to actually swap the channels where left becomes right and right becomes left. I don't know how that's done here in Studio One, but let me just pan it over there for now. Although this is still going more towards this thing here, but that's what's going to be a little more natural to the ear. Let me look at some of these and see if okay, I'm trying to see if there's a way that I can actually swap input left. Okay. Oh no, that's the input channel, so that doesn't matter anyway. I'm looking at output channel. Okay, now this is going to a piano bus, right? Yeah, here's a piano bus over here. Is there a way to do it over here? Maybe this is it. Let's see. Channel mode. Let's see if we can do it. That's just mono stereo. Okay. Okay, but I just made that mono. Check it out. So I'm over here on the bus, the piano bus here, right? So on this piano bus channel, and I switched this because it's going from stereo and it being in its normal stereo thing, it's leaning to, this thing is leaning to the left side. But like I said, that's a little weird. So when I go over here to this piano bus, I just take it out of stereo, put it in mono, and then just pan it over here a little bit to the right. And that's going to be a little bit more natural. People are used to hearing and feeling about the piano. So little things like that can make a huge difference, you know. Let's take that out. Now everything's all out of balance and all that. We know that, but I just wanted to hear it because we have to boost up this level so much. Okay. Now let's listen to this bass. Now let me take this stuff off the bass and just listen to the bass. The natural sound of the bass. I'm just curious to hear what it is. So to me, this is already a decent bass sound. So he's got Empire that he put on here. Let's see what happens when I put that on. Okay, so I see why you did that, but it is kind of muddying things up a bit. So, and what's happening is you're adding bass in with this EQ and all this stuff like this. So it really is, you got to be careful. We're adding bass here on the amplifier. We're adding bass on the graphic EQ here. Sounds like we have reverb on this. Let me bypass that reverb because that's kind of smearing it out. See how it sounds better without the reverb? And actually there's still reverb in there. I can still hear it. Let me solo that by itself. I can still hear the reverb. Let me just solo the bass. Let me take off the Empire. So there's still reverb on that bass, I guess the actual signal itself, because we've bypassed all these plugins and I can still hear some reverb, and I don't see anywhere else that might be going through. There's no reverb coming through the bass bus. So that must be within the recording. Okay, but I see why you added it. It's adding some things and you just got to be careful. Now let's check the other thing you added, the character. the Noveltech. Now I like that on that bass. It adds a little character. Take it off. Now I put it back. So that character is working for the bass. To me, I didn't really like it on the drums. It's making them chatter, but it seems to be working on this pretty good. Okay. So then the other thing you got is the red light district on here. Then let's put it on. Let me back up and just see what's going on with it. So I like that it's adding that little bit of grunge on it. Just be careful that you're not overdoing it. And you can also do a mix here, because like I said, that bass sounds not bad. So just adding in. See if I want a little bit of that buzz in there. See how it makes it speak through, but you don't need a lot, and you can use this mix knob to mix the natural with it. So anyway, yeah, I went a little bit longer, but I wanted this to help everybody understand that there's so many little things that you need to look at, and when you put these things on, always have a reason for doing it. Let me go back to one last thing, and then we'll wrap that up. We wanted to check on this and see if these drums are being helped by the sub filter thing. So let me put this in and put it on. You hear how it kind of woofs up and it's kind of extra thick and everything like that. So let me take off. So we need to get our low end a different way. That's not really the ideal way. And then we got some other stuff in here too. So I don't know what he had on this Alicia filter here. But we got to be careful with all the things. And then here's something else I also noticed. Check it out. Got all the drums going through this drum reverb here, through this reverb here, along with the other instruments. Because if I see, I'm muting. We see the reverb. The drums are going through here. Well, the piano was going through it. I had muted it. So that's all the stuff was going through here. Let's see. Now just listen to the reverb. See what this? Oh, listen to that. Listen to all the low end stuff. That's the one that has, okay, this one right here. So check it out. This is the one that I was talking about that was suspect to me. This guitar right here. You know, you see that we got that BX sub filter on this guitar here. So you hear all that stuff that's being added. And let me take that off here and see what happens when it comes back in. I'll raise it back up. Turn this off. Yeah, right away. That's causing all that low end stuff. That's why your low end's gonna be cloudy. Let's turn off the EQ first. Let's turn off the amplifier for a second and see what's going on. Now put the amplifier. Okay, so that's a different sound, and I understand why you may have done that too. So it's one of those things where you may have to play with a mix and balance of the different things because adding the amplifier in and all the other stuff is really clouding up the low end. So you might want to adjust that. And then, like I said, everybody is going through this. So look at all this stuff that's going through this reverb. You hear all that mess going through there? Let me pull this back here. And this guitar, like I said, needs to be wide, and you can go real wide, and it'll really do what you want it to do. That might be why you added the binaural pan, but it's suffering a little bit from the same thing the piano is suffering from. So that might be a case where you might get a better result from that guitar by monoizing the guitar, making it into mono, and then re-recording it back in as a mono guitar, and then processing the mono guitar with a stereo processor to widen it back out. Anyway, I'm going way farther than I meant to go on this and everything. You know, this is not a one-on-one coaching session, but this is the kind of stuff that I do on my one-on-one coaching sessions with different people. So I'm glad to share this so that you can get an idea of the process. And Martin, just go back and take a re-look at some of the stuff, you know, step back out of it, you know, and just kind of step back, re-examine what you did, and then ask yourself, well, why did I do that? And then take it back off and be sure you're really improving it. You know, there's always a cost to everything you do. So when you add some of these things and say, okay, I want my guitar to be fatter. Okay, you made it fatter now, but what else is happening? Did it get muddy? Is it sending bad frequencies into the reverb like this with that guitar, and then it's running through the reverb? So not only is the guitar getting thicker, but it's making the reverb thicker too, which is making the whole song get a little bit muddier and less clear, less punchy and everything. When I put on compressors, put on a limiter or whatever, is it's doing something else and having an adverse effect? Ask yourself all these questions, and you'll really get a lot out of what's going on. Now, let me see. That's pretty much it. The only thing, like I said too, that's why I took the stuff off the stereo fader so that I could see what was really on the song as well. So, you know, normally, like I said, just when it comes in, I want to bypass all this stuff. Let's hear what's really in the track. So these tracks actually have a decent sound on some of this stuff as is. So you might want to re-examine the pureness of the bass sound, and then re-examine, you know, that it's getting the right levels and everything. And, you know, definitely, here's one last thing that you can do, Martin, and I'll give you this, everybody else as well, too. You've got everything going through one reverb. Don't do that. You know, it's really going to muck up all the hard work that you did. Some of those sounds that you got are already recorded. Like we listened to that bass and we turned off everything you hear. It's still recorded with a room sound or some kind of reverb. There's some kind of ambience in there. So when you're sending all these things through reverbs and, I mean, through that amplifier, and the amplifier within that preset had reverb on it and everything, you're just adding more stuff that's washing over. So be careful, and try to, you know, like the drums and everything, that's this whole drum kit going through that, as well as the guitars, pianos, everything. So when everything's going on there and then the reverb, you know, just kind of elongates and everything, it just brings out all that stuff and makes it all start washing over each other. So if you need to have a discrete reverb for each thing, make sure you do that. And you know, the guitars should have their own thing, and some of these things substitute putting a delay instead of reverb. If you don't need to have reverb, you know, but you want some kind of ambience, try substituting a delay. Anyway, I hope that's helpful to you, Martin, and I hope everybody else got some great usage and little tips and insights out of that. You know, this was way longer, but I hope it was worth it and everything. I gave a whole lot on this one, and my boy Martin's been with me for a while, and I want him to be able to go to that next level and everything. So I love it when people are serious. If you're serious and you really want to go to that next level too, the best thing to do, like a lot of people do, you know, while I do this stuff periodically and everything, but the best thing is to just hit me up and come to me one-on-one. You know, if you want to get on my calendar or whatever, go to book.me/Khaliq, you know, and that way you can get on my calendar and get a slot, and then we should just talk, have a little strategy session about what you're trying to do or whatever, and I might be able to help you do something one-on-one, or whatever might work for you to get you to that next level if you're feeling stuck. So go to book.me. I think it's book.me. Let me be sure I'm giving you the right thing. Book.me/Khaliq. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I just got this new calendar, so let me go there real quick so I'm not telling you the wrong thing, and be sure that it gets you there. Okay, book.me/Khaliq, and see if that goes to me. No, that doesn't go to me. I forgot my URL. Hold on. Let me find my URL real quick. I got the wrong one, and then we'll wrap that up. That, I wasn't even planning on giving that out, but I know a lot of people. Maybe it's bookme.com. Let me check real quick. I'll be right with you on that. Okay. Try that. Something else real quick. No, that's not it either. That's for hotel. Okay. Anyway, send me an email to Khaliq at Khaliq-O-Vision.com. Oh, wait a minute. I think I've got it here. Hold on. Let me see if I can call that up real quick. Okay, yeah, okay, I got it now. Now this is it. Bookme.name/Khaliq. I just got it, y'all, or send me a direct email to Khaliq at Khaliq-O-Vision.com. If you think you need some one-on-one help or something from me that can help you get your song and music to the next level in your thought process, this is the stuff that I do. This is stuff I love doing, so this is why I took so long on here. I love sharing this, but the long way around is to wait for me to do these for people every now and then. The shorter way is if you want to, accelerate your path and have me directly show you what applies to what you're doing. Get on my calendar and I'll see how I can help you. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I'll talk to you on the next one. I have another one coming up. A couple other people sent me some stuff, so I'll give you some more insights. This is Khaliq Glover, also known as Khaliq-O-Vision, and I'll catch you later. Bye. Signing off.